fakes Ritter to the end zone, looking for Pierce. Did he hang on? Yes. Touchdown. Made the back as I've been around. Here he goes again. Busts free. Jerome Ford down the sideline. Foot race. House call. Touchdown. 79 yards. Big run in the Peach Bowl. This is a big one too. And it's going to go all the way to the house on the first play from scrimmage.
Bearcat Blitz on the Believe Network, taking you into another weekend presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. And we love our good friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. Coming off the Super Bowl, a little bit of a down week in terms of sports volume across the United States of America, but still plenty of Olympic action going on across the pond in Milan. You can bet on the Olympics all throughout the 2+ week run there. Got the hockey firing up this weekend with the men's hockey action, so that should be a lot of fun. You can catch all the odds there on FanDuel Sportsbook, and make sure to head there for your Olympic betting action. They got odds on the most gold medals, most medals overall. You can bet on the men's hockey with the Olympic Games going on. For the ice side of things on the hockey, USA taking on Latvia today. They are today, as in we were recording this on Thursday, and they did their first game against Latvia this afternoon. So many good games going on across the rest of this week. You got Canada versus Switzerland on Friday when people are listening to this podcast, and plenty of other Winter Olympic action going on as well. Head to FanDuel Sportsbook today to bet on the Winter Olympics with FanDuel, a great presenting sponsor of Bearcat Blitz, where I'm your host, Russ Heltman, and you can catch my work on Cincinnati Bearcats on SI. And we're bringing in Neil Meyer very shortly from the front office news to discuss the biggest win of the season so far for the Cincinnati Bearcats in conference play. 91-62 destruction against Kansas State. This was one that it spelled out victory all over the place. If people listened to the podcast earlier this week, they just destroyed Kansas State in this game. We'll get to a quick preview of another game they should probably win by double digits at home against the worst team statistically in the Big 12, Utah, coming to town this Sunday. And then the back half of the show, we're diving into Nate Woody's introductory press conference, the new defensive coordinator under head coach Scott Satterfield with the Cincinnati Bearcats football team. We will get into our big takeaways from his introduction to the media and fan base. All that coming up on Bearcat Blitz, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, after these messages. Bringing Neil Meyer with the front office news now, as big one. Neil, big victory. The shots are falling over the past 2 games, and particularly over the past 3 games. For one, Jizzle James, he had, I believe, a season-high 24 points, 6 of 8 shooting in this game, 9 of 14 overall from the field, only 1 turnover, one of Jizzle James' best performances as a Bearcat, and we got more consistency once again from Baba Miller, 16 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists. I believe he tied a career high with, or that was Day Thomas who tied a career high with 7 assists. Baba Miller right behind him there with 6. Day had 10 points, 7 assists, 21 total assists, Neil, in this game. Top 5 mark on the season in any single game for the Bearcats. They led by as much as 32 in the final moments of this one. Complete showing, really the most complete showing all year. End-to-end defense offense for Wes Miller's squad, which did not have Mustafa Cham, once again, still fighting through these injury issues.
Yeah, Russ, I mean, the biggest takeaway for me from this story is that it seems like Cincinnati has finally found that roster combination despite Mustafa Cham being injured. It seems like in the recent weeks, since they inserted Jalen Celestine into the starting lineup, I don't think that was maybe the key indicator here, but since Jalen Celestine has been inserted into the starting lineup, this team has been a lot more productive, in my opinion. But you look down, Jalen Celestine had a huge night for Cincinnati as well. And then I'll touch on Jizzle James as well. But Jalen Celestine, 18 points, 5 rebounds, 6 of 8 from the field, 4 of 6 from behind the arc. That is what Cincinnati brought him here to do. That was the kind of player Wes Miller envisioned him. Obviously, he's been dealing with some injuries and whatnot. And now it looks like he's finally fully healthy in recent games. So huge spark to this Cincinnati offense has been to the credit of Jalen Celestine.
And real quick,
And then
Neil,
Russ,
Jalen Celestine over the past 5 games, UC is 3-2 in those contests. He's shooting 49% from the floor, 41.4% from deep on 5.8 attempts per game, and a 63% effective field goal rate. That's going to get the job done. And as you mentioned, the guy that they expected to see before he dealt with that back injury that has basically taken away his peak superpowers until this point in the season.
yeah. And then the biggest thing, too, for me, Russ, too, you mentioned Jizzle James. How cool of a story is this turning out to be for Cincinnati? Because you look down, Wes Miller even gave credit to it in his post-game interview on the court. He was like, man, how great was this guy? He's turning out to be one of the best stories in all of college basketball right now. 6 of 8 from 3, ties a career high in 3-pointers, 24 points, also ties a career high, 9 of 14 from the field. Russ, I said it a couple weeks ago when we talked about Jizzle James, and I know I've had plenty of interactions with him on campus, walking around. I've bumped into him a couple times. He seems to be in a very great headspace, and it is translating now onto the court. Everybody knew it was going to take time for him to get back up to game speed, but man, Russ, people were talking about how important he could be when he got reintroduced to the team and whatnot. He is playing out to be a huge role for Cincinnati, and you look down for Jizzle over the last 3 games, Russ. He puts up 18 points in the loss for West Virginia, where he shot 50% from the field, 4 of 6 from 3 in that game. He puts up 15 points versus UCF, 50% from the field, 3 of 5 from behind the arc. And then most importantly, ties a career high 24 on 9 of 14 shooting, but 6 of 8 from behind the arc. And I think the biggest thing for Jizzle right now is after that West Virginia game where he went 2 for 8 from 3, Russ, I think the biggest thing for him to take his game to the next level is that 3-point shot has been falling. And for Cincinnati, Jizzle James is a huge part to this offense. And you've seen it over the last few days. They needed a guy who could come in and just have the scoring ability, the scoring mindset. And that's what they lacked early in the season. They got that now. Offense is clicking between him, Jalen Celestine, Baba Miller, Mustafa Cham when healthy. The list goes on and on. But for Cincinnati right now, man, last night's game, Russ, I don't know about you, but I was sitting there watching it and I was like, yeah, it's good to beat another team on the road by 40 almost, and to see Jerome Tang's press conference last a solid 90 seconds if possible, and paper bags were out in attendance in Bramlage last night in Manhattan. So I mean, people know what the Big 12 is all about, but I mean, we said it coming in that Kansas State was going to be a rough squad in a game where Cincinnati should win this game, right? And then you look down, and to come out and you knock down a season high 16 threes, and you take a 25-point lead essentially into halftime without arguably your best front court player, Mustafa Cham. I don't think anybody would have had that on their bingo card as this season has gone. But
that was a 1.5 point spread. It was not like UC was a 6 or 7 or 8 point road favorite in this game.
And Mustafa Cham too, like heading into this, Mustafa Cham was questionable heading into this. Like he practiced going into this matchup, and then he said he played versus UCF. I don't know what the injury, if something sparked back up with the ankle, but who knows? But for them to rest him, now you get an extra days of rest heading into Utah, which could be huge for Cincinnati, because they might have saw like, hey, we know we have this mismatch here and we have the potential to win it without him, and let's get him healthy for the back half of the season to make this run. But overall, Russ, last night was a complete dismantling of Kansas State. You heard Jerome Tang say he was going to open the doors for 6 a.m. practice. He said these guys don't deserve to wear the jersey. I'm working to confirm if they had that 6 a.m. practice, by the way. I've texted my Kansas City sources. But overall, I mean, Russ, that was a game that Wes Miller needed that blowout victory. right? In a battle of two coaches whose seats are arguably hot, to go in there and put on a showing like that, you got to feel pretty good if you're Wes Miller in this Bearcat squad right now.
I don't think there's any arguments, especially for Wes Miller. The seat can't be hotter, Neil, for the Cincinnati Bearcats basketball team. And unfortunately, that seat is so hot because of injuries. The injuries, to me, it was on clear display last night. In a perfect world, Jalen Celestine stays healthy all year. Mustafa Cham stays healthy all year. Jalen Haynes stays healthy all year. I mean, what have we been saying, Neil? This team has top 20 composite talent in the entire country compared to every other Division One basketball team on 24/7 Sports. The roster that Corey Evans, general manager, Wes Miller, and his whole staff have put together is viewed as a top 20 overall talent roster. They've just clearly gone through the most injury-riddled season yet of the Wes Miller tenure, and they've had brutal close game luck, Neil. They are 0-5 in close games so far this season, and that's a big reason why they are so low on the KenPom luck metric. Didn't have to deal with a close game in this one. And Neil, they're rising at the right time, but ultimately, unless they get to the conference championship game and win out the rest of the way here, it's going to end up being a little bit too late. And you got to continue to stack wins against Utah on Sunday and see where you can go from there. But it's just, you just keep trying to stack wins. You keep trying to improve. You keep coming and answering the bell for this program. You keep doing your job, putting in the work, and trying to make sure that you wear the jersey the right way, as Jerome Tang clearly did not think his guys wore the right way. But once again, all I have to say about that with Jerome Tang, dude, you're either coaching it or you're allowing it to happen. And Neil, I don't think Kansas State's been nearly as injured as the Bearcats have been.
He's allowing it to happen out there, Russ. He's got all that NIL funding. He paid PJ Haggerty $4 million, and I mean,
I don't want to hear it,
to happen.
I don't want to hear it. That's just all show, all bluster. He's just trying to make the show about himself in that press conference. Just a whole lot of garbage there. But Wes Miller has fought through these injuries. He's continued to highlight how his players have fought through the injuries, how his players have had the right attitude through what's been a really, really tough season. I mean, 0-5 in close games to keep answering the bell and keep working the right way. It shows to their character and their want to get the first win outside of Fifth Third Arena so far this season on Wednesday night. So a complete showing for the Bearcats. That was great to see. And I don't know, Neil, crazier things have happened. Crazier things have happened than the Bearcats making it to at least the semifinals, probably have to get to the conference final, especially if they fall at least one more time down the stretch of this season to have any case for an at-large NCAA tournament spot. But they're playing like an NCAA tournament team right now, Neil. 26th in overall efficiency over the past 10 games. They're 88th nationally in offense in that span over the past 10 games on Bart Torvik, and still 6th on defense. They've been top 10 on defense all season. Every single 10-game stint that you look at from the Bearcats, they're in the top 10 nationally on adjusted defensive efficiency. It's been that offense, Neil, which has fluctuated from the 250s to at the end of non-conference, it was hovering closer to the 150s. Then it cratered back into the 250s in the first half of conference play. And now as the health is maybe starting to come around a little bit for the Bearcats, as I've shown, 88th in offensive efficiency over the past 10 games across the entire country. And a season high 57.1% from deep, 16 of 28. They let it fly on the road on Wednesday night, and they got the job done. And Neil, I think they're probably going to let it fly against the Utah Utes, who have one of the worst defenses in the conference. Let's go ahead and get to that quick preview here. I don't think we're going to need to spend much time on this game. UC should win this one with another 8-9 next to their scoreline, and a 6 or 5 on the Utah scoreline here. 84.8% matchup predictor favorite in favor of the Cincinnati Bearcats over the Utah Utes on ESPN. KenPom wise, Cincinnati is now up to 51st on KenPom, while Utah is at, you got to scroll down here, a couple of Utahs before you get to the actual Utah. 124th on KenPom, I think firmly the lowest rated team in the Big 12 in that sense, and the defense has a lot to do with it, Neil. 207th in defensive rating this season. Offense is a little bit better, but unless you're bringing a top 30, top 20, top 15 offense to the table with that kind of defense against this Bearcats team, it's just a brutal, brutal matchup here. Utah is 1-10 in Big 12 play so far this year. They have lost just so in all kinds of ways. Any kind of way you want to slice it, Utah has lost a conference game so far this season, and they have not won one since taking out TCU 7 games ago on January 17th. It's going to be basically a full calendar month since the Utah Utes last won a Big 12 game. Neil, unless Terrence Brown, their lead scorer, goes off for 40 in this game, I don't see how Utah has any chance to pull off the road upset.
Yeah, no, most certainly, Russ. When you look down at this Utah team, I mean, you mentioned it, 1-10 in Big 12 play. Their last win came roughly a month ago, riding a 6-game losing streak. I'm right there with you. Like this Utah team, many people expected heading into the conference, myself included, since I did vote in the preseason media polls. I had Utah at the bottom of the conference, and you look down at how things have gone. Well, that's exactly what's expected, right? You look down, you see the 6-game losing streak, 1-10 in the conference. But Russ, like right now for Cincinnati, you mentioned Terrence Brown. He's averaging nearly 21 a game for Utah. But outside of that, this should be a game where Cincinnati just beats the brakes off of Utah here at home.
I mean, the
Obviously,
rebounding, Neil, I don't know how, unless Utah shoots 56, 57% and nullifies the rebounding advantage that UC is going to have here. Once again, it's just, it screams double digit deficit. I mean, the Utah has 0 players over 6'9" in their rotation. Most of the rotation shorter than 6'8", and they have been horrendous rebounding the ball this season. Nearly -6 total rebounding margin. The only team that's been worse rebounding kind of on total rebounding margin, Neil, is the team UC just destroyed on the glass Wednesday night, the Kansas State Wildcats.
yeah, and when you look down, you mentioned that, Russ. This is a game where I'll throw it out into the air. Baba Miller gets a double double. And if Mustafa Cham is able to play, I predict him to get a double-double because that's how much difference in physicality in that advantage in the rebounding that Cincinnati has. You mentioned it, the size advantage. Mustafa Cham, 7'2". Baba Miller has solely worked his way back into NBA draft consideration over the last month. We saw him at maybe the bottom of the top 100. He's now looking at the top 60 mark right now, mid 60s, low 70 range. So Baba Miller will have a huge effect on this game, but I really think this is the game where Cincinnati should come into Fifth Third Arena on Sunday and beat this Utah team by double digits. Let's be honest, I don't see Utah coming in here and shooting 58, 59% from the field like they did a season ago, especially without a shooter like Gabe Madsen, right? So, I mean, Fifth Third Arena is going to be rocking, hopefully. I just don't see Utah coming in here and putting on a shooting clinic to take out the Bearcats. So give me the Bearcats here. I'm going to go, Russ, 84-64 in favor of Cincinnati, where they pick up their third straight win.
Right there with you, Neil. I'm going to go 88-70. I mean, I think they destroy this Utah team. UC to me is rolling a little bit right now. They got the confidence coming back from this road win. It's time to take a break and get to Nate Woody, the new defensive coordinator, coming over from Army to take over for Tyson Veit on the Cincinnati Bearcats football side of things. No football to really talk about odds-wise on the FanDuel Sportsbook, but we do have All-Star Weekend coming up, including the three-point contest, where you can bet on my guy, the top odds player, the favorite to win the award, to win the three-point contest, I should say, Con Knipple, one of the greatest rookie three-point shooters in the history of basketball. He is on pace, if he plays a 15, 20-year career, to go down as one of the 3 to 5 best shooters ever. That's how good Con Knipple has been as a rookie. He has just lit it up so far. Plus 330 on the FanDuel Sportsbook, ahead of Damian Lillard at plus 410. Devin Booker at plus 550, and Jamal Murray at plus 600, plus Tyrese Maxey as well at plus 600. Your top 5 odds to win the three-point contest on FanDuel Sportsbook this Saturday night. Head to FanDuel Sportsbook to bet on the NBA All-Star action across this coming weekend. Get to Nate Woody takeaways in just a few minutes. Closing up shop with a look at Nate Woody, Neil, coming over from Army and bringing an aggressive 3-4 blitzing scheme to the Bearcats defense.
Yeah, Russ, and I mean, we talked about it earlier in the offseason once this hiring was made official. Obviously, the 3-3-5 just did not work out here in Cincinnati, right? No interceptions really. Couldn't find ways to get pressure to the quarterback. But now you make the change. You bring in a guy that Scott Satterfield is very familiar with. They spent some time together at Army Appalachian State. This could be a really good fit for Cincinnati, and people might not look at it like it's not like the sexy hire for what you look at, but he's led two of the best defenses in the country in recent years. So, I mean, you look at what the job he was able to do at App State and Army, both teams that were top 25 in defense, and were able to not only get after the quarterback, but come away with interceptions. It's going to be unique, right? You have so many different skill sets for Cincinnati. Obviously, you're going to be rushing three, but still three down front, but sounds like they're going to be bringing four majority of the time, whether that's your outside backer or when your inside backers coming and rushing the quarterback as well. So I think it's going to be pretty unique how this will play out. He noted in his press conference that sounds like the linebackers are going to be rushing the passer roughly 70% of plays this year. So that'll be interesting to watch because that Cincinnati has a linebacker in Jonathan Thompson who was able to disrupt and get to the backfield, make some big time plays last season, who has a knack for the football. It's going to be really interesting to see how does he fit in to this new defensive scheme. And then on the back end, it's going to be interesting. How does a guy like Antoine Peak fit into this defense as well? Two hard hitters who have a knack for a football. It's going to be interesting. I'm excited, man. I'm really excited, Russ. You and I were talking about it for the longest time that the 3-3-5 it just did not work here. I just don't think Cincinnati utilized it right. They didn't bring enough pressure, in my opinion. They weren't getting the turnovers. So to see a 3-4 scheme is pretty exciting for Cincinnati.
Right, Neil. It's like it was basically laid out by Scott Satterfield. He said, we put 8 in the coverage way more often thinking we'd get more turnovers, and
And they
we
didn't
ended
get
up
any, really.
the only team in the nation without 3 interceptions on the season and just 10 total turnovers overall, which I believe ranked in the teens, the 100 teens nationally in terms of total turnovers this season. But something different has got to work. Something different has got to work compared to just keep ramming your head against the wall and doing the same thing that has just taken you out of games and out of contention down the stretch of Big 12 seasons, all 3 of the Scott Satterfield campaigns. Yes, 116th nationally last season UC was with 10 total turnovers. They got to get to the quarterback, Neil. They got to find a way to get to the quarterback, and that's clearly a directive for Nate Woody, who is taking over a defense that created 30.8% QB pressure rate last season on average. That's 104th nationally. And they ranked 115th in sack EPA generated. Just regular raw statistics, sacks, 1.77 sacks per game. That was 93rd nationally, Neil. Just overall, nowhere close to good enough rushing the passer. And when you can't rush the passer, it makes it a lot harder for those cornerbacks to get their hands on those wonky passes and turn those deflections into an interception. So I like the hire. I do. I like the hire. It seems like Nate Woody is really confident in the culture here. He led with that. And I think you and I can attest, Neil, the culture is where you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's just about the talent. Can UC figure out a way to bring this roster to a palatable talent level to where you can actually compete in the Big 12 with what you're offering up? The same, I mean, it's going to be, they have to finalize the overall composite talent ratings over the next couple of weeks on these sites. But I mean, 24/7 Sports, I would be shocked if UC is not in the bottom 10 to 15 like they were last year in overall composite power conference team talent. So can Nate Woody coach these guys up at a better rate than Tyson Veit was able to? We're about to find out. And can JC French emulate what Brendan Sorsby's production was able to bring to the table enough to where an expected rise from Nate Woody's defense, Neil, leaves you somewhere fighting for contention in November? Can you find a way to get some wins in November? I think that's kind of the bar right now for the Bearcats, especially given they could be facing what they faced, Neil. Two final ranked teams last year in Utah and BYU could end up facing five final ranked college football playoff ranking teams and the top 25 by the end of the 2026 season. So the schedule figures to be a lot more difficult. You're going to get worse on offense. Just it would be a coup if they're able to replace Brendan Sorsby's top 10, arguably top 8 level quarterback production, bar for bar, yard for yard, with JC French. So Neil, the ball is in Nate Woody's court, and the pressure is kind of on him to raise the level of this defense. And I'm sure he is hungry to attack that pressure, and it's something that he is gonna hopefully thrive under for the Bearcats fans.
Yeah, most certainly. And it's going to be an exciting spring, too, when you look down at this. Obviously,
Yeah,
new
we're
defensive.
like a month away from spring ball starting up, basically.
Yeah. And when you look down, too, you see the new defensive coordinator. You see a lot of different changes made within this roster that it honestly has to have you pretty excited for this year four under Scott Satterfield, despite the results not being what many expected in recent years and being upset about all that front. But you know the culture is there. That is the biggest thing we need to emphasize. The culture is there. You
Right. The
have great
culture's there
leaders.
and the facilities are there. It's
Mhm.
just, I mean,
These guys
clearly, Neil,
want
they're
to
they're
be there.
maxing the resources that they have. It's
Yeah.
just, will those resources lead to 8, 9, 10 regular season wins and play and Big 12 contention ever? Will that ever happen? We have to wait and find out.
Yeah, exactly. And the turning point is you do have to wait. But for right now, Russ, if you're looking on the outside looking in, there's a lot of things to be thinking ahead about and the positivity surrounding this program. You see a lot of guys stepping into leadership roles. We've heard that from Evan Tengestal. We've heard that from Joe Cotton, Antoine Peak. There's a lot of guys stepping in and taking that next leadership role where they could set the standard and the culture even higher than what it's already at. That things could be trending in the right way for Cincinnati, but it's gonna be very interesting. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun spring. It's gonna be fun to get back out there with everybody. So overall, Russ, we can only wait and see, like you mentioned.
That we can. But I mean, there's so much experience from Woody. Obviously, I think people will see some of the sack numbers from this past year in particular, and just glom that onto, and the turnover numbers as well, and glom that onto what this team's going to be. But there's a different roster. There's different teams. There's different players every single year. So I think Nate Woody has shown the breadth of work across a decade plus coordinating defenses that this guy knows what he's doing. And he's just got to get the right kind of ingredients to work with. And that's going to be interesting. Neil, have did they clearly, I mean, I'm assuming that they built the transfer portal haul with Nate Woody in mind and with a defensive change in mind, but we'll kind of see all that play out over the next few weeks, and especially obviously in spring ball when they start getting actually onto the field. That's when we'll really start figuring it out. But Nate Woody, I thought, portrayed confidence, good confidence from Scott Satterfield. They're rowing forward, and they have, to my eyes, maximized the talent and the resources that they've gotten so far. Now, Neil, it's a whole off season in the Shakely Athletic Performance Center. It's a whole year there. There is there aren't really, outside of things that they can't control, Neil, which is millions of dollars coming to them further in NIL. There aren't really any other barriers to success for the Bearcats in terms of the facilities, in terms of the culture being instilled. And so outside of money, which we none of us can really control in terms of the Bearcats' ability to bring that in. There's not a looming billionaire Bearcats football fan that's sitting out there ready to jump in anywhere. But they have, I think, instilled the right bare bones around all of that, despite all that, to be able to have success in the Big 12. We'll see if it can happen under Nate Woody, Scott Satterfield, and the co-offensive coordinators of Pete Thomas and Nick Cardwell. For Neil Meyer, I'm Russ Eltman. This has been Bearcat Blitz on the Believe Network. We will talk to you all again next week, recapping the Utah action as UC faces a gauntlet down the stretch after that. 4 quad 1 games and 1 quad 2 home action. 3 of those 4 quad 1 opponents on the road at Kansas, at Texas Tech, and at TCU to close the season. We're going to really find out how much better this UC team has gotten in that stretch. For Neil Meyer and myself, this has been Bearcat Blitz on the Believe Network, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Have a lovely weekend, everybody.
6, Ritter to the end zone, looking for Pierce. Did he hang on? Yes. Touchdown. Back as I've been around. Here he goes again. Busts free. Jerome Ford down the sideline. Foot race. House call. Touchdown. 79 yards. Big one in the Beach Bowl. This is a big one, too. And it's going to go all the way to the house on the first play